2 friends from Guo. Where else? Let's see here. We have Zheng family from Shandong, Chen family from Zhejiang. OK, 丹山市欢迎。OK, Chen family 姓深圳，然后呢，陶 family 送上海。OK， 那么大家你们都来了，听华严经，非常欢迎。Welcome everybody who have come to listen to the Avatamsaka Sutra. So happy that you're here. Okay, let's get started. Does everybody know, can you see my desktop if you're looking? You may be just listening on a phone. If you can see the sutra, this is Big Sur. 3 steps, 1 bow. Bowed along here. This is a famous bridge. Is this Raccoon Point? This bridge washed out, I believe. So we would start here and finish somewhere here. 1 day, that's a mile. And start here and finish up here the next mile. 你们各位能不能看到？这是我电脑上那个桌上的一个图。这个什么地方？这是 Big Sur 的加州。我们上部一拜就拜过这里。那个是很偏僻的，就是靠着太平洋那个海岸，就每天就1个英里，从这里开始拜到这，然后第2天从这里开始拜到那儿。那个地方是美国风景非常优美的所以让大家知道的Okay, I found that desktop. I was really happy to see that. All right. Here we are. Our bodhisattva is cultivating transference, the practice door of giving with the mind, the merit and virtue that he or she could accept and take themselves, but they share it with others, with a gift. And the exciting thing about this particular method of practice is it's portable. You can do it anywhere. And the better your focus, the better your samadhi, the better your concentration and fullness, the farther your dedication goes. 我们菩萨这个他修一个法门，华严经很长的一品10回相品都是一个法门。菩萨呢就不是，菩萨用心布施。这个法门很奇妙，因为它呢，你会用这个法门，你就说你随时随地都可以。这个是 portable， 是手提的，跟着你你修的好不好，看你的清净心，清净不清净，清净到什么地步呢？不是说心清净，心清净就是佛我们当然心里都有东西了都有念头。不过那个念头能用到能专心，专心呢那个你布施的这个功德呢，都会到好远OK 都可以包括很多众生。好的，来，为令一切众生住平等恒，积极善法，悉圆满故。In order to enable living beings to abide in the practice of non-discrimination and accumulate wholesome dharmas, bringing them all to perfection. Bodhisattva dedicates, in this section, Bodhisattvas are dedicating because they are happy. They fa huan qi xin, they have this joy And this is 110. We're in the middle of 110 reasons why they're happy. Okay? 在这段经文，菩萨就发一种欢喜心，然后给我们110个原因，为什么菩萨这样子欢喜 ？OK， 他就欢喜，因为他愿意令一切众生住平等行，齐集善法，悉圆满故。看这个，很长的几个原因合在一起。The Bodhisattva is happy because he is able to, he is happy in order to enable living beings to abide in the practice of non-discrimination and accumulate wholesome dharmas, bringing them all to perfection. This is a cause of the Bodhisattva's happiness. 为令一切众生善入一切诸佛境界，悉就变故。In order to enable living beings to skillfully and completely merge with all Buddha's states of being. He wants us all, you, me, and your uncle, and your friend's French poodle, to skillfully and completely merge with all Buddha's states of being. That is to say, become Buddhas. That's a wonderful wish. Now, the simplest way to explain that, to express that, is to say, 我即诸众生皆共成佛道, right? May I become a Buddha with all living beings. Here, it's, I would like to skillfully get all living beings to the place where they skillfully and completely merge with all Buddha states of being. Same thing, just said in a more elegant way. 为令一切众生善入一切诸佛境界，悉就变故。意思是说，他愿意令我们，就说你我他所有的人成佛。他这样讲的比较详细，讲的比较美雅啊。我即诸众生皆共成佛道，就是这个意思啊。那么讲的很好听。为令一切众生身口意业普清净故。In order to enable all the karma of living beings, body, mouth, and mind to be purified. Okay, now, from here we get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7 in a row that have to do with purity, with purifying. Okay, the first is, may every living being's karma of body, mouth, and mind, may the words they say, the thoughts they think, the actions they do, all become purified. And purified here doesn't mean clean in the sense of clean versus dirty, like you wash it with soap. It means free from self. Purified here, in terms of karma, means that the things they do are done perfectly in accord with Dharma, so that nothing, no karma accrues, good or bad, to the doer. It's done purely. So it's done. There is action, there are words, there are thoughts, but they're done completely in accord with the Tao. So there's no trace. Magnificent. 就说从这里开始有7个愿，7个会上的愿，就是属于清净。清净呢，它不是说哎呀邋遢，要用肥皂、用热水来洗，不是那种的不干净，不是说干净不干净。清净这里就说完全如法去做，所讲的话、所做的行为、所想的念头，都完全就如法合道，与道合一啊，这样子呢，虽然有行为、有动作、有念头、有话说，可是呢，它不留这个痕迹啊，没有善业，没有恶业，就做的完全是合道。OK， 所以希望众生身口意业皆清净。 还有为令一切众生善业果报普清净故。In order to enable living beings each and every wholesome karmic consequence to be purified. So again, same idea, so that everything that living beings do comes back to them in a way that doesn't increase their karmic burden. Karma just means action, and it's mostly based on habit. There's this energy of habits that catches us from behind. Oh my goodness. You didn't know that you were going to meet somebody who you have a debt to, and then you go to the grocery store, and there's that person. And sure enough, you have to go through the karma with that person. It was there waiting for you all the time, but it was invisible, and just like a seed in the ground, when the time comes, it grows. So he wants living beings to avoid all of that, so that every action they do brings about this sense of perfect timing, perfect season, everything in measure, everything in accord with the Tao. Then there's no we're not blown by the wind of karma into consequences we don't want. 就是说，他愿意令众生这样子他们众生都所行所做他们完全因为清净，所以夜风不会吹到他们后边，把他们不知不觉的就好像又要过这个不愿意过的果报。菩萨他回向功德这样子，他是一个应该说是无形中他愿意做一个人生的工程师，是不是？他就希望众生都飞机出事，他们可以走开，没有受伤了。有车祸，他们就因为扣上那个安全带，就没受伤，这样子那么轮船沉下去，他们都安全地到海边，没事这是菩萨他做一个人生的工程师这样子。So our bodhisattva is, what is he? He's like a life engineer. He's able, what he wants to do with his transference is he wants living beings to have a wholesome result from all the things that they encounter. So there's a shipwreck, but you make it to the beach safely. The plane comes down or catches fire, and you get off safely down the slide. Or there's an auto accident because you buckled your seatbelt, so you come out of it without a scratch. This is the Bodhisattva's wish. What a wholesome wish. This is, can we see, this is so much, the Bodhisattva is just wanting to make a better world. The Bodhisattva is what do you call him? He's writing in his mind or her mind, he's writing plays for the future. He wants, it's all a happy ending. That's his idea. And what would you rather do with your life than look ahead and sending out happy endings for living beings? 就说如果是你的话如果就说你愿意令众生人生变成乐剧，不是悲剧，多么好！愿为令一切众生了达诸法，普清净故。In order to enable living beings to understand all phenomena as pure, so what? So they don't attach. They're not afraid of negativity. They're not craving positivity. They're all pure. That way, again, karma doesn't accrue. 他们这样是了达失意的，了达诸法普清净故，就是说，他们不是怕这个这个情形不好，对他们不好，他们不是期待这个情形对他们好，这样子呢他们人生经过很没有障碍，没有执着了为令一切众生了达实义，普清净故。In order to enable living beings to comprehend the universal purity of ultimate truth. In other words, he wants living beings to have wisdom. 就是说，要众生有大智慧那么，为令一切众生修诸圣行，普清净故。In order to enable living beings, in order to enable each and every supreme practice cultivated by living beings to be purified. So that the idea is that he wants living beings, and I say living beings, right? And everybody understands. This is he knows who this is. His wishes are not random and aimless, all living beings. He's got people in mind, and he's also thinking about animals. And he's also thinking about ghosts, his ancestors. He's also thinking about devas in the heavens, whose lives are very comfortable, but come to an end. The Bodhisattva is constantly in touch with all the living beings in his body, all the microbes, all the different bacteria. And he wants all of them to leave suffering. So when you have this scope, and this is your wish, your life is surrounded by goodness, because your heart is focused on beneficial outcomes for everyone, and no harm, an ending of harm, and an ending of suffering. So somebody who focuses with their mind like this all the time, how could they have the blues? How could they have affliction in their minds? How could they have jealousy or petty envy? They can't. Their mind is focused entirely on giving joy and happiness to others through real life engineering. This is, I think, the magic of the transference practice is that as you do it, when you use your mind this way, things work out for you. Simple. 好，就说为令一切众生修诸圣行，普清净故。他呢，他做一个人生幸福人生的工程师，幸福人生的工程师。他呢，你我们什么时候这样用心，就会相功德呢？我们就说，不是我们说众生不是说就随便乱讲啊，一切众生，他知道，他是很清楚，他愿意布施给谁，就说众生都包括他身体里边的细胞里边的这些细菌还有一些天上的天人在那人生很享受，天人的人生很享受，很舒服，他就知道了。还有他今天早餐没有吃的猪，他不吃 bacon 那个烤猪片他不吃了，所以希望那批猪就好过。你们有没有看到这个？你们看的什么是小红书啊？你的手机啊？ 有没有什么看看那个抖音呢？我上个礼拜看到一批猪，这批猪是它的主人就给它小吃，那批猪它可以，他说坐下，那批猪坐下给它吃一口，他说你转右，那批猪转右给它吃了，转左给它吃了，这样子转左。他就训练那批猪啊，一个不是很胖那种，是白色的一个可爱的一批小猪，那批小猪就像一只狗，就这样子训练，都懂得他的话，就为了吃，这个主人已经给他就训练，他懂得很多的命令，就是向左向右坐，躺下，然后站起来，然后走到那个主人的两只脚，就像这样的八字形这样子，就很聪明就像狗一样的。然后我们就说，哎呀，吃那个这个烤猪就是猪肉烤饭呐、猪肉炒饭呐、什么的，就是这么一个灵性的众生在那儿，变成我们的主食，不要了，所以我说众生菩萨他在回向众生，他就知道就是什么众生了啊。So I've got a story here, thinking about the bodhisattvas. The bodhisattva's got these living beings in mind, and he's not just randomly saying living beings. Did you see? It was a YouTube video. I have this YouTube YouTube channel called the Dodo, right? And the Dodo has clips about cute animals and the things that animals do. And this guy on Dodo had trained a small white pig to behave like a dog. And he trained him using treats, right? Little snacks. So he took a piece of whatever the pig was eating and he said, okay, here you go, turn right. And the pig turned to the right, gave him, okay, turn to the left. Up on command, he turned to the left, gave him something to eat. He said, okay, walk between my legs. And he walked cleverly between the owner's legs, gave him a piece to eat. Sit down, sit. He sat. Lie down. He lie down. The small white pig behaved just like a dog, really well trained, listening to commands. He understood all kinds of commands. And we don't eat dogs. Some people eat dogs. We don't eat dogs. How can we eat pigs? How can we eat bacon and pork chops and ham? And my goodness, yeah, these are creatures with whom we communicate. So, yeah, so the Bodhisattva has them in mind too. 菩萨也有猪在他的心里，他说回向给众生，他就是知道什么众生受他的回向，包括无形中的鬼什么叫回向给鬼呢？那我们的祖先呢？他们不在身体里边了，恶鬼也好苦啊，我们回向给他们，希望他们都圆满修这些圣行都成功，这是他的愿力，为令一切众生成就一切菩萨大愿，普清净故。In order to enable living beings to fulfill all Bodhisattva's great pure vows. This each one of these transference wishes is a great vow from a Bodhisattva. 所有这些回向的愿是菩萨的大愿为令一切众生证得一切功德智慧普清净故。In order to enable living beings to realize pure merit and wisdom. Okay, so that's the game. That's what it's about. Pure merit. Let's see here. Gongda. In this case, the translator called it merit, Gongda. We go back and forth whether to call Gongda virtue or merit. In this case, it was merit and wisdom。我们有的时候翻译功德就翻译 merit， 有的时候翻译 virtue。We translators don't know whether it's one thing or two things. It's hard to know. 这个功德呢，是不是功，是不是德？我们翻译的时候是一个东西了，功德是一个东西还是两个东西了？你问师父，有的时候他就福德了所以有福，有善根，有功，有德，有功德，有道德很多很多。有不同吗？也有，有是有所以这里他翻译 merit and wisdom， 就说功和智慧。OK， 功德和智慧。好的，为令一切众生成就一切同体善根，回向出生一切智圣，普圆满故。In order to enable living beings to accomplish the good roots of regarding all as one, and make dedications to bring forth and to make perfect the vehicle of omniscient wisdom。 我们上个礼拜就讲说有的时候这个回向的愿很奇妙，不是很简单这里是其中一个。你看我们刚刚讲完了7个，就清净，就都是为了有从不清净就变成清净，清净就是说没有我相，没有我见那么现在这个为令一切众生成就什么成就善根，那是一部分。同体善根，同体善根是说从慈悲心启发的就没有这种分别，没有朋友，没有敌人，这种的心就发这个回向的愿，这种善根那是一部分。那个也可以做一个回向的愿，不过呢这个愿呢菩萨还继续就说把这个善根呢回向出生一切智圣，希望那个就普圆满。所以有的时候已经是到第7回向，第7回向呢随顺一切众生回向，他呢菩萨回向的时候可以很准确，非常复杂的一个愿力都到达了，都得中了So last week we talked about how sometimes in the early transferences, the Bodhisattva's wishes were fairly simple, very direct. He or she wasn't as strong in their ability to transfer at that point. Now, as the Bodhisattva gets better and better and better at it, they're able to transfer these wishes very profoundly. And here is an example. This is a compound transference wish. Take a look. So his goal is 2. He wants living beings. He is happy because he wants to enable living beings to accomplish the good roots of Tong Ti, same body good roots. That is to say, these are good roots that arise from a sense of compassion, from a heart of compassion. So if you understand how so many living beings share a nervous system, how so many living beings suffer alike and find joy alike, then anything that you do with that in mind would be good roots that come from great compassion, same body. Furthermore, he wants to take those good roots and then dedicate them so that the vehicle of omniscient wisdom, Buddhahood, arises. Okay, so some of these vows are complex. 我每天把这个 bird seed，就是一些种子喂鸟的这个苗，喂给他们。每天都有这个很大的鹦鹉种种。我这里有3个不同种的鹦鹉来了，有大的白色的 sulfur crested， 还有小小的像霓虹，还有中间那个叫 king parrot， 就是国王，就是王族的鹦鹉，他们都来了他们因为我这个小猫棚是他们飞过去一站他们一天到晚在那吃东西了，他们知道到这里来，他们都会有一点点这个 bird seed 可以喂给他们。那么我们这里有向阳花的籽，还有这个不同的好像大麦，还有这个什么小米粥的小米，那个大米，这些东西都可以喂给鸟吃。他们到了，望着我看了，我在不在？看到我，他们可以看他们眼睛大了。然后呢，我把这个 birdseed 拿出来，他们眼睛就欢喜了，看得到，然后呢，他们下一个念头是我可以吃到多少？你手掌上那些 bird seed 多少会到我肚子里？他们就开始打这个算盘，那个弹性起来了。不过那种欢喜心，今天有东西吃，我看到了，这是很普遍的虽然是一个鸟，是畜生，是动物是畜生法界，动物法界那种欢喜心是一样的，我认识。然后我有的时候他们来了，我就在里边打坐，不出来了，我还在用功，我可以看到他们看不到我，他们眼睛就没有那种电光，没有那种光明因为没有东西吃了，所以这是很普遍的。那么他们因为时间久了，他们认识我，不怕了。一开始有新的鸟来了，野生的，他们都是野生的。不过他没有来过，他就是随这个一群下来了。他不认识我，是可以喂他，他眼睛里边有害怕那种眼光。他们看了我，眼睛长大了。不过呢，不是那种暖和，不是那种欢喜光，一种恐怖也可以看到，也是很普遍的。所以我做人，我不愿意令他们有害怕，我喜欢喂给他们，令他们那种欢喜心同时，当然我都念佛喂给他们这个bird seed，我就念观音菩萨的圣号，南无阿弥陀佛的那个圣号还有这个契如来圣号、多宝如来等等。So， 因为我跟他们有一些那个 king parrot， 他们都会落到我手上吃向阳花的籽。有一位公的，他一点都不怕，他就看到我就飞到我手上，然后他在那儿，这样子，他知道其他的鸟都不会来了，抢着他的籽，手上那些都是他的，所以他都来了。我看了，就闻其声不忍见其死就像孟子这么说，对的，那是对的，讲得很正确。你如果 听过他的声音，应该是快乐的声音，不愿意听他那个悲哀的声音。你看他生，不愿意看他死。所以我们到了百货公司，到了这个 grocery store，买这个现成的肉块，放在一个盘子里边，用那个 plastic wrap 包起来，不知道这是众生。他死了的时候一定不愿意的，就因为每天跟这些鸟在一起，所以我认为，就不愿意看他们死了，不愿意看他们悲伤，不愿意听他们不高兴的吵架的声音，更不愿意看他们眼睛里边害怕。So I'm telling a story here. This idea of Tongti, same body, translated here as regarding all as one. The Tongti Shangang, the same body, good roots, is compassion, because you see we're the same. And it's so clear that when the Bodhisattva is transferring merit to these living beings, he knows who he's giving it to. And he knows they're the same. We're the same. I, every day now, because I live in a cabin in the bush, in the woods, in the forest here, on the hinterland of the Gold Coast. So every day I'm surrounded by the other inhabitants of the woods, which are birds, many. And among those living beings, there are three kinds of parrots. There are sulfur-crested cockatoos, big white birds. There are king parrots, which are brilliantly colored red and green birds, medium-sized. And then there are little rainbow lorikeets. And because I get very close to them as I feed them. I feed them birdseed, and lorikeets get special food. And when I feed them birdseed, when they land, they look for me, because I'm the source of the food. I can see that. And when they see the birdseed come out, their eyes go, they light up, and there's happiness in the gaze. It's followed immediately by a thought of how much of that is mine. I know. They immediately wonder how much is going to wind up in their stomach. Greed kicks in right away because there's competition. There's a lot of birds. But that happiness is so clear. It's universal. I recognize it because I've had that same thought. I've had the same look in my eye. And then there will be new birds these are all wild birds, but there's some who just follow the flock and show up, and they don't know who I am, and they land, and I come out, and in their eyes there's fear. There's a fear response in their eyes right away. They don't know who I am, and I recognize that, and it's a light, and it's just like that, and you can feel it and see it and experience it. And of course, I want to feed them and get them past that fear. And I think about Mencius when he says, when I see them alive, I can't bear to see them dead. When I hear their voices, when I hear their sounds, I can't imagine hearing their cries, And it's really true that we share nervous systems, we share a Buddha nature, we share a mind. And when we go into the grocery store to buy food, meat comes wrapped up in a plastic tray with plastic wrap over it. And we are separated from the act of the death of that creature that's going to be in our stomachs. And my goodness, once you're close to wild animals and they trust you and you make them happy, something as simple as feeding them sunflower seeds or birdseed, it's the thought of killing them for food and having them be afraid and make that sound. Don't want to do it. So the 同体善根，它就回向出生一切智生，普圆满故。Okay. We're going to continue a little further here. We've got some amazing vow coming up ahead here. 为令一切众生眼尽一切诸佛国度，普圆满故。In order to enable living beings to perfectly adorn and purify all Buddha lands. This point I really want to emphasize because why? Where do Buddha lands come from? Where does Jilo Shirjia, the land of utmost happiness, Sukhavati, where does that come from? It comes from a person who had the thought, I want to create a pure land. We can't. We make it with our transference wishes. We have to cultivate merit and then think, yes, Yuan Yi Ci Gong De Zhuang Yan Fo Jing Du. I want to give away this goodness to make a place where suffering is ended, however you want to do it. Medicine Buddha made a pure land where there's no disease. How wonderful. Just when cancer comes, it just comes out of the blue and everything flipped upside down. So how much pain, misery is that? Imagine making a place where there is none. You can. Just do it just like this. Perfectly adorn and purify Buddha lands. A Buddha land. You can make it with your next thought. Dedicate that merit. It takes a while. It takes a long time, but we come back over and over. Why not start? 你看这个愿呢，想跟大家讲清楚。阿弥陀佛极乐世界从哪里来？从一个人的心来的，然后他回向功德，就是从那边来的，没有错，没有第二个。所有佛的进度清净佛果都是人做的药师佛他的琉璃光世界都是一个人就发愿说，我愿意找一个地方没有病痛，没有疾病。Cancer 这个癌症来了，把整个家庭翻倒了，就忽然间了。如果我们不愿意其他人受这种的痛苦，那我们就开始说回向功德，希望可以做一个没有疾病的一个国家。我愿意做的回向给那个目标。当然要等一点时间，不过呢，生生世世它一样来了。那我们为什么不用这个时间，用这个机会这样做？Good idea， 好主意了啊！为令一切众生见一切佛而无所着，普圆满故。In order to enable living beings to behold all Buddhas without any attachment. Even seeing Buddhas, you can get attached to it and it'll stop you. So just don't even attach to that. And that way you get to see them more. When we attach to them, that's it. That's the end. 就说这么正确的一个观想就是佛陀，如果执着的话就会停止。那就说你喜欢多见佛了，那就不要执着，就可以继续。哎呀，修行就是这么巧。为令一切众生具诸相好，功德庄严，普圆满故。这个相好不是说好，就说32相80种随行好。In order to enable living beings to be replete with superb hallmarks and make perfect each and every one of them with the adornment of merit. 32相80种随行好都是修行的可看到的一个结果这个菩萨回向功德，希望一切众生都可以成佛，有佛这个圆满的报身。So this is the wish from the Bodhisattva that all beings will have the 32 hallmarks and the 80 special characteristics which are a sign of the Buddha's reward body, visible, right? So this is very amazing. This is one of the 3 bodies of the Buddha. And when we accomplish Buddhahood, there is a visible sign in this body. And we've seen this is why Buddhas look so unusual. Long earlobes and 40 teeth and golden skin and perfect proportions. In the Tibetan tradition, they have a tradition of painting tankas. And when they train a young monk or nun, I guess layman or laywoman also, to paint tankas, you observe and contemplate a painted tanka that has the right proportions, maybe just the Buddha's hand or a portion of the hand. And once you absorb that into your Buddha nature perfectly over a period of years, you can paint the rest of the Buddha in perfect proportion. So every part represents the entirety, and it's all perfectly proportional. 这个佛的身体哈，有三个身体，佛的三身，这是报身，这是32相80种随行哈。佛与佛都有这种圆满的报身。在藏传佛法有一个法门，就是画佛像，这个叫tanka。这个佛像呢，它呢这么圆满，这么平衡，这么就圆满。一个学生他要训练做画佛像的正确佛像的一个手，一个艺术家，他都要观想很久，好多年了。佛这个画的像的一个部分，或者是手，或者是手背，或者是什么眼睛啊，然后他就吸收到他的自信上，因为那个大小，那个 proportion 这么圆满，他都会画出来，其他的佛的身体就不会错了。你看，这是这么很奇妙的，佛的身体就是这么的。Okay, are we ready for this unusual vow? Here we go. 为令一切众生得60种音声，发言成立，皆可信受100,000种法而以庄严。如来无碍功德妙音，喜圆满故。In order to enable living beings to attain the 60 kinds of voices that utter only sincere and truthful words well received by all, each and every voice of which is adorned with hundreds of thousands of teachings, and thereby perfect the Tathagata's wondrous voice of unobstructed merit. All right, now this is a far-out vow. Why 60 kinds of voices? Of course, I went directly to Master Chengguan's Huayan Suchao, and he says he made a commentary here because clearly this is an unusual kind of transference wish, isn't it? And why 60? And what he found was there are numerous other sutras that also mention the 60 kinds of vows, 60 kinds of voices. And because the Buddha's voice is a major vehicle for his teachings, and for bodhisattvas, if they're going to teach and transform living beings and accomplish their vows, they need to use their voice for it. So 60 is a number that comes out of the lore of Buddhas. And I hadn't heard it before encountering it here, but because we're relying on the Tang Dynasty commentator, we discover, oh my goodness, this is actually a dharma that appears in other sutras that Buddhas do teach with 60 voices and 60 kinds of voices. And some of the voices are nots, right? The not fearful voice and the not indecisive voice, etc. So this is, mind you, voices in one language. Can you imagine how Buddhas are able, 佛以一音而说法，众生随类各得解, that the Buddha speaks with one voice and all living beings hear it each according to their own language. So this is truly, truly inconceivable that Buddhas can speak bird, and they can speak deva, and they can speak ghost. So not just 60 kinds of voices to speak in one language, but so many different kinds of languages as well. This is all part of the vows that arise from our own Buddha nature when it's awake. If you are tuned in to this, to the aspect of speaking and eloquence and language, all these different aspects of teaching, it pops up in sutras and also in commentaries how important voices and language are, how many times they emerge in the sutras. And there are lots and lots of stories about the wonderful aspects of speech and voices. The one that I'm most familiar with occurs both in the 10 stages and also in the 10 practices, so the 10 grounds and the 10 practices, where it's the 9th stage of both, the 9th practice, the 9th stage. And it talks about dharani, and how dharani, toloni, is this ability that arises along with samadhi and with fearlessness and all. So with the power of dharani, it says that a bodhisattva can speak dharma, and the sounds of his voice go out to limitless numbers of living beings, and they all hear him in a way that severs their doubts. He, in turn, is able to hear questions posed by limitless numbers of living beings, full of doubts, full of their confusion and uncertainty. And then he can speak a sound using the power of dharani, toloni, that is the word that we use for mantra, right? Dabe toloni, the Great Compassion mantra, the Great Compassion dharani, same word. He uses that ability, and he issues one sound, and all those living beings hear it, and they go, oh, I never saw it that way before. Oh, that makes sense. Oh, I get it now, right? How wonderful is that ability? And it arises from the Bodhisattva's willingness to teach Dharma. So, my goodness, these abilities are all inside us, unlocked with great compassion. 这么奇妙，就说为什么有60种音声？为什么60个？为什么不是70个、80个、50个？因为这是一个法，佛法都是这么巧妙。我看到这个愿，我马上朝这个清凉国师华严寺敲。他说是的，是的。他呢，唐朝的这个大德，他也是研究其他的佛经，其他的佛经里边都会提到这60个声音。他说有这么一个法门，是60个啊。然后这60个有的是说没有恐怖音，没有怀疑音，你听到这个声音，你不会好像一点的怀疑都没有了。那个声音里边一点的这个嗔恨心都没有，所以呢很容易接受。他所讲的法，我们马上完全接受，不会拒绝了。这些，所以60个。 新娘国师提出不同的经书都是有这么说法然后如果各位注意这一点，那我们都就在研究佛法，我们都会慢慢的听得出很多地方提到佛的声音。为什么呢？佛菩萨他们讲解佛法都会用声音，所以我们都要慢慢的看的，哇，很多地方，这个是32相80种随行号里边都会有这个声音的关系。那么我都记得在我最熟悉这方面，就是不但那个4种这个辩才无碍而且呢，这个十横品里边都第9横，十地品里边的第9地，讲到什么？讲到所谓陀罗尼。陀罗尼是一种像定力、像无畏、像辩才这种的能力，从修行成就可以出来了，是我们人这个佛性修成的时候，这种陀罗尼像定力、像三昧都会出现了，给菩萨用的度众生那么陀罗尼怎么一回事呢？他就那个第9横里边就说，菩萨能运用陀罗尼，他如果有多少几千万，哪有他那么多不可数不可说，那么多众生，每一个众生起一个怀疑，起一个疑问，针对菩萨起一个问题了，我不懂，我有怀疑了。菩萨因为有陀罗尼的功能在实现了，他都能接受所有不同有怀疑心的这些疑问，然后菩萨说法用一个声音，所有的有疑问的众生听到那个声音，都会解决他们的问题，断他们的疑问。他们听到佛那个声音，他们就说原来如此我才懂原来我以前都听不懂，现在很清楚，我明白了，这样子，这么奇妙一个功能。所以声音就是非常非常重要，在度众生一方面，在这里呢，60种音声，法言称谛皆可信受，就是陀罗尼方面的百千种法而一庄严，如来无碍功德妙音，希望众生悉圆满故。Yeah. May all living beings gain perfect completion of these 60 kinds of voices, so that those sounds that come from them are sincere and truthful and well received. And each voice comes out with hundreds of thousands of teaching. So, how fine. Yeah, that would be good. Anybody a teacher? Are you a teacher? Are you ever taught in a classroom? Have you ever tried to raise children? That wouldn't it be nice to have a voice like that? Oh boy. 你是不是教授？你是不是课室里边的老师啊？你会不会养孩子？你如果有这种的声音，哎呀，你的孩子一听你的声音出来了，好 ，OK， 妈妈没事，好的，接受了，会了，Yeah, you're right. That's different from the kids that we have, right? You bet. Yeah, my students. OK， 那多么好。 Okay, so we'll come back to that point. Next week we have more with voices. But today, right now, we are going to switch over to Master Xuanzang. Last week, we had him in the tent of the Shehu Khan, who just come back from hunting. And Master Xuanzang and his crowd, oh, the king parrots, the red bird is here with his wife. She's all green, he's all red. Any minute now, he's going to stick himself to my screen door. 那个 king parrot 就来了，那个哇，它的羽毛红色，等一等，它会贴到我的那个蚊网，那个门。So Master Xuanzang was in the tent with the Shehu Khan, and it was party time. And they mentioned the music, and I like the point, these details. The foreign music made a great din. It was vulgar in tone, but boy, was it delightful. It's probably the drums. Arabic music has those incredible polyrhythms. And yeah, it's just wonderful. So, 我们各位记得吗？上个礼拜了，玄奘大师到了这个舍护坎，他的帐篷里边了，大家开 party 会，欢迎他，告诉我们很详细吃的是什么，喝的是什么，然后那个声音，那个音乐，哦，就是那个音乐很粗的，不过呢很好听。少时更有实质，且烹鲜高度之职，应集于前。别因进食进法师，具有饼饭、酥乳、食蜜、刺蜜、葡萄等。Food was served, consisting of cooked beef and mutton, piled in great quantities. Special pure food was prepared for the master. It included cakes, rice, butter, milk, sugar, honey, and grapes. Okay, now what an amazing book that it tells us in detail what the monk in the Tang Dynasty was served by his Turkish warlord host. And look at what he ate. These are, and it specifies that Master Xuanzang kept his precepts. He kept his diet. He was a Mahayana monk. He didn't eat meat. Didn't eat the beef and mutton. Beef is from cows, mutton is from sheep or goats. Nope. There was a lot of it. He didn't eat it. That's the detail, right? He had pure food, eating cakes, rice, butter, milk, sugar, honey, grapes, all of which are allowable for a monk with his food preferences. So how interesting this is that we get a look into the tent of the Turkish chief of the steppes out there and what he ate and what he served a monk. 这多么好！我们看到唐朝一个战士，一个什么霸王，在那里，他自己所吃的饭，然后有一个特别的客人，贵宾来了，一个和尚，他倒给他所吃的东西，这么一个怎么说？这本书至少1300年的一本书，我们可以知道当时的人那个饮食是怎么一回事。他们特别端给一个出家人的饮食，他们尊重他的不吃荤的，要吃斋的，吃素的，给他吃的，多么好，很有趣。I'm really, really happy to get a book with so much detail, like the Golden Peaches of Samarkand, Professor Schaefer's book about the exotica. Yeah, right. 时气更兴葡萄浆，仍请说法。 法师隐慧以实善，爱扬物命，其波罗蜜多解脱之业，乃举手刻以叩额，欢喜信受。After the meal, grape juice was offered to the master, and then the Khan requested him to preach the law, meaning to speak Dharma. Thus, he preached on the 10 good deeds of having kindness for all living beings, and on the paramitas, which were the way to emancipation. The Khan salamed and accepted the teachings with delight. There you go. Okay, again, specifying that Master Xuanzang did not drink the wine. I mean, they're really careful to, now this was written by a monk, right? The journal was the news, the observer was a monk who wrote this down. And of course, he pointed out the things that were important to him. But the fact that he wants us to know that monks, left home people, and Buddhists practice ahimsa, cherish life, and also they practice wisdom. They're not doing sobriety. And he makes this fastidious notice that the music was vulgar and delightful. That's from a monk's point of view, isn't it? So I really like this. You get to look at a monk's perspective, and the fact that the meal's over, he gets grape juice. What about the others? The others don't get grape juice. The others get wine, alcohol, right? For sure. And then this Turkish, was he a Muslim? Islam didn't exist in its form back in the Tang as we know it today. So what kind of faith did the Shehu Khan practice? We don't know. But he had enough good roots and he had enough virtue that when he heard about the 10 good deeds and cherishing life and the paramitas of the Bodhisattva path, he bowed and accepted the teachings with delight. There you go. So the fact that, first of all, he's welcoming a Buddhist monk into his tent and hosting him and recognizes who he is. And of course, he's heard from the king of Gaochang, who sent letters of recommendation, and Chinese envoys. How deeply they respect Master Xuanzang and what his vows are. He knows about that. But he could easily just, say, here you are, you're a foreigner, you're a barbarian, we're going to kill you. He could do that. He doesn't. He respects him. He asks him to speak the Dharma. He wants to know what he's bringing with him in his heart. Well, he gets to hear it. And Master Xuanzang decides, looking at the situation, at the beef and the mutton, that he's going to speak about cherishing life, kindness for all beings, the 10 good deeds, killing, stealing, and lust with the body, lies, harsh speech, double-tongued speech, backbiting, and frivolous speech with the mouth, and greed, anger, and delusion with the mind. He preaches against those. He speaks about them and the benefits of holding the 10 good deeds, of avoiding those, and cherishing life. And then he talks about the Bodhisattva's path of the paramitas. And the good roots of this ruler of the steppes comes out. He's happy to hear this. He bows. He's delighted. It says he salams, and it's this jusho. He raised his hands and bowed his head. Right? So, huanqi xinsho. He was delighted. So, very cool. 他们吃完了，他们把一些葡萄汁、葡萄浆就端给玄奘法师。其他人呢，喝的什么一定会喝酒，一定，因为这个写笔记的是出家人，所以我们经过他的这个眼光，我们经过他的镜头，就他注意他的师父的行为，其他人喝酒，法师喝葡萄浆， 其他人吃牛肉，法师吃饼干。他这个是出家人的特别注意这个细节。音乐呢很粗，很好听，这是出家人的立场。所以这个是特别的一个日记。然后呢，这个你说这个石斛堪，他有善根，他可以请法，他知道怎么这个贵宾呢带来佛法，在他心里，那个礼物请你给我们所以大师就讲法讲的什么？讲十善十恶身体有三恶，杀盗淫，不做呢就是十善口有四恶，就是妄语两舌恶口绮语，不说这种话就是十善心里有三恶三毒，就是贪嗔痴，你能转过来了不犯那个了，就有心三善。听到这个十善那个时候可能高兴不得了。然后呢，讲那个波罗蜜，然后呢，特别讲爱扬物命，不害ahimsa就爱惜众生的生命。这个时候看呢，因为他们那边是怎么吃呢？我们知道了，他们有饼、饭、酥、乳、食蜜、刺蜜、葡萄等。不过呢，他们一定是肉食为主所以他就劝他们爱惜生命。他就举手叩额，他就合掌叩头欢喜心手，不错不错玄奘大师在那里弘扬佛法。因流听数日，劝诸曰：实不须往印特迦国印度彼地多属10月当此5月观师容貌，至必空笑容也，哈哈哈！其人露黑，类无为仪，不足观也。法师报曰：近之彼，欲追寻圣机，目求法耳When the master stayed for some days, the Khan advised him, better stay here, saying, don't go to India. It's hot there. The climate in the 10th month is the same as the 5th month here. Now, looking at your face, I think you're going to melt in that hot weather. Ha ha. The people there have dark skin. They've got no manners. You shouldn't bother to go. The master replied, my intention in going there is but to visit the holy places and seek for the Dharma. Okay, so once again, the ruler says, don't go. Stay here with me, just like the king of Gaochang. Luckily, we'll find out next week that it's not as serious as it was in Gaochang. Master Xuanzang only has to say to him, actually, I need to go. I made a vow. I'm not going to stop. And the Shehu Khan agrees. We'll find out. But all the same, it's interesting that they all want to keep him. They recognize what a wonderful Dharma treasure he is, and they don't want him to go. 各位注意，这是第3次吗？就所到的地方的那个主人就说。你不要走，你留下来了，我们一起研究佛法会很好，不要去了。哇，这里那个时候看就很详细，说那边怎么样不好大师就说谢谢我要去，我已经发过愿那个是我有个就说我的命运 一定要去印度，所以呢，我接受你的善心呢，不过我还要去，他就拒绝了。啊，幸亏我们下个礼拜会知道了，这个师傅看他没有继续硬要，就像不想搞长网啊，所以他接受大法师的这个拒绝了啊。不过呢，他们都认识玄奘大师到底是这么一个法宝，他们希望他会留下来了啊。可是他的愿力坚固，他并没有退他的愿。Well, if we learned anything from Master Shenzang, we could learn his resolute vows. He does not retreat when he makes his vow under much duress. He does not quit. Okay, there is a lot of illness in the world. Here in Australia, syphilis is coming back. It's rampant. It's grown like multiple times. And COVID is surging. So to dedicate merit, let's borrow Medicine Buddha's mantra to send out our transference wish. You have to make the transference wish, dedicate the merit, just like the Bodhisattva, the way you want. But let's use this chant. 我们就用药师灌顶真言来回向功德。好，你们要发自己的回向愿。好。Namo Bhagavate Asanja Aidurya Pravarjaya Atagataya Arhate Samyak Sambuddhaya Adyata Saji Saji And then we will bow to the Buddhas, 然后我们就向佛行三问行礼。来，一问行，二问行，三问行。Bow in respect to the Venerable Master. All right, Happy New Year, everyone. 大家新年快乐. See you all next week. 阿弥陀佛.
Thank you.
阿弥陀佛.